I've found this weird thing that keeps happening with my Sims game, and I wanted to see if anyone else is having the same thing happen to them. For those who are living under a rock, The Sims is a really popular computer game. You basically create people and families and navigate them through their own little worlds. There's jobs, school, and all the little normal life type things. Honestly, it's like living a second life where you can stop time and sell windows. Anyway, I was super late to the party and bought The Sims 4 on the Oracle sale a while ago. I've been playing The Sims since the first one came out, where you never aged and you basically were limited to a tiny house. But after playing Sims 2 and 3, I became a real fan. I love to make Sims of imaginary people. I made a famous rock star and an astronaut. I like to make them outrageous with bright colored hair or lots of tattoos. Sorry, I'm rambling. So, I got the game and started playing around with it. It definitely reminded me of The Sims 2, especially without any expansion packs. I played a lot since it's summer vacation and all. I got kind of bored of my family though, so I decided to start a new game. My best friend Kimmy has the game too, and she made herself into a Sim. Well, sort of herself. It's got her hair color, but like way bigger boobs. Plus, she made herself super thin. Whatever. So, I figured I'd make myself into a Sim too. Kimmy likes to date a whole bunch of guys and basically be a slut. I knew I wouldn't do that. I wanted my Sim to be exactly like me. So I made a teenager character named Rose, that's my name. I made my hair brown and straight, just like real life. For an outfit, I picked an ordinary shirt and some jeans. It took me almost an hour to make my Sim look exactly like me and have my perfect personality. I tried to move her in, but apparently you have to have an adult to place a teenager in the game, so I randomized an adult character to put in my household. My first randomized Sim was super weird looking. His skin was bright red with a full body latex suit the same color of his skin. His head was tiny, as were his eyes, nose, and lips. I was gonna randomize again, but I figured it really didn't matter what he looked like, so I named him Bob and added him to my household. Finally, I could play the game. It was definitely worth the money. I played that game all night. I went to school, practiced some skills, and made some friends. Bob just stood in the corner or slowly followed me. I never interacted with him. But here's where the weird part comes in. I saw there was a character who lived in my town who looked exactly like this boy at school, Randall. It wasn't just a little like him, he had the same haircut, eye color, everything. It was really weird because his name was Randall in the game too. I talked with him a little in my Sim world and then dared to flirt with him. Honestly, I've had a crush on the real Randall forever. And he flirted back. It felt so fun to virtually flirt with my crush. At school the next day, Randall winked at me. I was a little surprised because I didn't think he knew I existed. He passed me a note that asked if we could hang out soon. I showed Kimmy in amazement. Duh, you two have been flirting for ever. She rolled her eyes. No, seriously, why is he being so nice to me? Are you high? It's Randall. He likes you. Kimmy shook her head. You're so stupid, Rose. I guess we must have talked at some point, but I forgot. I feel like I would have remembered flirting with him. But the weirder question was, how did he end up in my game? I think my Sims game is somehow hacking my computer, hence what I said about there being a bug in the game. How else could Randall have appeared in there? There have been a few other weird things too. Like, for instance, when I got home that day and started playing again, Kimmy showed up in my town. She looked exactly like herself, even with the dress she wore to school. We were already friends in the game, which was odd because I hadn't seen her character before. I played a little that night and went to bed. When I woke up, something was new. Bob was in the corner staring at me. Like, a real person Bob. He looked just like the Sims character, which at first was really scary. His head was so small and his skin was so red. I was terrified at first, but he was harmless. I tried to talk to him, but he just stared. He just hung out quietly when I got ready for school. I couldn't find my parents. Maybe they were already at work? Bob followed me slowly from room to room. I kept trying to talk to him, but he never responded. He stayed at home while I went to school. I had a weird feeling about it, but it slipped away when Randall started hardcore flirting with me. It was just like in the game the day before. He asked if he could come over later. A boy so cute had never paid attention to me. Kimmy was super jealous. I couldn't quite shake the strange fact that Bob now lived in my house. At lunch, I asked her if she'd ever seen a guy like Bob lurking around. She narrowed her eyes. "You're so fucking weird, Rose. I don't even know why we're friends." I have to be honest. Kimmy's my best friend, but she's mean. She's always been mean to me. I guess she's more confident or something, but she's like my only friend, so I put up with it. I got home and had a few hours before Randall was coming over. Bob was still there, towering over the furniture. I tried to talk to him again, but he just stared. My parents were nowhere to be found. I shrugged it off and decided to play more Sims. When it loaded, Bob came over to me and pressed one of his red fingers against the screen. He was pointing to himself. I was confused. "You want me to play as you?" He shook his head but kept his finger on the screen. "You want me to talk to you?" He nodded and then settled back behind me. I clicked on his character. There was only one action possible: praise. I was a little hesitant, but I clicked it. Rose the Sim walked over to Bob. Then there came a really weird bug in the game. Instead of just talking, she reached her little Sim hand into her throat and pulled out a box. She gave it to Bob. I tried to click out of the action, but it had already been done. Bob took the box and pressed it into his stomach and absorbed it into his body. I turned around to look at him, and for the first time, he was smiling. I shrugged it off and kept playing. In the game, Randall and I went on a date and had a ton of fun. We decided to be boyfriend and girlfriend. We spent most of the time making out until he had to go home. Then the real Randall came over. I'm not lying. It was exactly like the game. He's my boyfriend now. I had never kissed a boy, but it sure felt good. When he left, I was on cloud 9. I flopped down on my bed in happiness. But to my horror, Bob crawled into bed with me. I yelled at him to go away, but for some reason my words were all jumbled. It sounded like Sim language. For the first time, he spoke back to me, except his mouth didn't move. "Everything you want can come true." I tried to ask him what he meant, but again, my language was all messed up. He answered anyway, as if he could read my thoughts. "All you have to do is praise me once a day. Then you can be anything, do anything, have anything that you want." He paused. "Also, I need you to change my name in the game." "To what?" I wondered. He grinned. "Shaitan." I felt weird, but also a little excited. I fell asleep with him in the bed. He never touched me or moved, but I knew he stayed up all night watching me. The next day I went to school. Randall was as sweet as ever. It felt like a dream. I remembered what Bob, or Shaitan, said about being able to have anything I wanted. I definitely wanted Randall. At lunch, I was recounting our amazing date to Kimmy. She simmered. "He only likes you for sex," she said bitterly. Anger rose inside me. "We didn't even have sex." "Not yet, but I bet he makes you. Why else would he like a stupid girl like you?" She snickered. I stood up in a rage. "Kimmy, you shouldn't talk to me like that." "Oh yeah? What are you gonna do about it?" "I can do a lot of things now. You don't want to mess with me." "Fucking retard," she hissed at me. I closed my fists tightly and walked away. She would see. She would see how bad I could make it for her. The second I got home, I loaded The Sims. Shaitan was still missing. First, I praised him, which looked the same as yesterday. I felt a weird pain in my chest, but I ignored it. Then I invited Kimmy over. I stared at her Sim angrily. Without remorse, I built 4 walls around her, trapping her in a tiny space. She stayed that way all night, pissing herself and crying. She desperately wanted food or sleep. I watched her character flail. I even delighted in the torment I was giving her. Finally, somewhere around 3 a.m. my time, she died. Shaitan uttered a low laugh. I joined him. The next day when I was headed to school, I noticed a weird structure in the yard. It was 4 gray walls with no roof. I touched the thing and knew what it was. It smelled like piss in there. People at school were worried about Kimmy, but I didn't say a word. I was finally passing all my classes. I could be friends with anyone I wanted. I can enact revenge on anyone too. This bug in my Sims game was the best thing to ever happen to me. The only thing I miss is my parents. Maybe I should have made them into Sims 2 when I started the game.